Happy Friday, Stampin' Friends! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about today's card. We're going to be using a fun new technique called the baby wipe distressing technique, and we're going to be using the Gears and Textures stamp set and a couple other goodies. So let's get started. Okay, so here is the Gears and Textures set. It is such a fun set because it has, of course, all the different gears and, you know, all the, what do you call it? Chains and ladder, you know, all of the fun, you know, we've got this, the top of the screws and all those things, right? Whatever they're called. Phillips and the other one. I just call them the X and the line, right? Whatever they're called. But we have all those fun gears. You can see the dies here are awesome. And I have seen so many great ideas using this set. Today, though, I'm going to focus on the textures in this stamp set. We're not even going to use these dies, but I did want to show them because it is such a fun set. Now, there's no sentiments in here. So we're going to be using from the Currently Loving stamp set, this Celebrating. It's a great big sentiment, a great big greeting that I love, and celebrating could be for anything. So we're going to make kind of a masculine card today, maybe like a rustic, grunge, distressed look, right? But celebrating can go for anything. So this could be celebrating Father's Day. This could be celebrating your birthday. This could just be celebrating it's Tuesday, right? Even though it's Friday, but it could be used for anything. So I really, really love this set. And so we're going to put those together, and let me show you the card we're going to make today. Isn't this fun? I love a good tag card, and anytime I can put a tag on a card, I think it just looks fabulous. So celebrating, and then on the inside you could add any sentiment that you want, but we're really going to focus on all of these textures in today's card. So let's get started. I'm going to tell you some fun things we're going to be doing, but we're going to work on the tag part first, and then we'll put it all together. So let me bring in some supplies here. So we're going to first need our grid paper because this one can be a tad bit wet, right? So I don't want to get it all over my table. So I'm going to use my grid paper here. I've got my baby wipes. So I've just got my container of regular, I think it's Huggies baby wipes, but the brand, yeah, they're Huggies, but the brand doesn't really matter. So we've got our baby wipes, and then I'm going to bring in my piece of paper that I've already cut down. This is crumb cake cardstock, and I've already cut it down. Now, if you need any of today's measurements, the step-by-steps, print out the pictures of the card and all the supplies that I used, you can always find them by joining my weekly Buzz Bulletin at stampinqueenbee.com, and I email out the supply list, the whole PDF that you can print. It's totally free every single week that I do a card, and I would love to share that with you. So make sure that you go on there. A pop-up will come on and you can subscribe for free to my weekly Buzz Bulletin. This way you don't have to worry about any measurements here today, and I don't have to worry about saying them wrong. So we've got our piece of crumb cake here, and then we're going to need a few tools. So I've got just a block here that I'm going to use. It's a D block, but you could use any. I've got two re-inkers. So we're going to use the White Craft re-inker, and I am using Pecan Pie. So the goal is to give this tag, this will be a tag. The goal is to get this looking really distressed, really rustic in a fun way. So I'm going to take my craft ink. Now this one, I forgot to do it. So this one, you're going to want to keep the lid on and shake it up a little bit. I don't want to make you dizzy, so there we go. And that way it's just mixed. It's a craft ink, so you can see it's real thick. And so we want that to make sure it's mixed good. So then once you have that on your block, I'm going to add just a dot of my pecan pie. Now I'm going to take one of my palette knives. So we have these, they're a set of 3, and so I'm just using this one. And I'm just going to kind of mix that together. Kind of looks like I'm making chocolate or coffee creamer or something, right? So we're just mixing that a little bit just so that it's kind of a creamy color there. Okay, so I'm just going to set that down. And then I'm going to grab my baby wipe here. So I'm just pulling one out. And I just kind of like to fold it so I have a little bit of a corner there. And then I'm going to grab some of that I just mixed up on there, and we're just going to wipe it down our paper. You see that? Okay. So then we've got just kind of like one, I'm just kind of smoothing it out there. So we've got kind of one first go round on there with a lighter bit. So then I'm going to take my re-inker again, my pecan pie, and this time I'm going to add 2 and the third one dropped. So guess we're adding 3. So 2 to 3 dots there, and because we want this to be a bit darker now. Still with that craft ink that we have there. If you find your white is gone, then you may want to add a little bit more for this second step. So then I'm just going to go back in just like before, and this time I'm going to go on this other side. You can see it's a little bit darker. I'm just grabbing a little bit more, and this time I want it kind of streaky. Do you see those lines there? Okay, now I'm going to flip this around because that's where I was kind of holding it, and I'm going to do the same thing up here. Okay, so we're just giving it this kind of distressed bit of look. I'm going to go in one more time with my pecan pie, give it a couple of dots there, and I'm going to pick this up. The baby wipe just really helps to distribute it and give it that kind of distressed look. So now I want to put some darker bits. So I'm just going to kind of go on. We're almost making it look like it could be like a wood grain, right? Like we're just kind of giving it that distressed look. Perfect. So now we're going to want this to dry. So what I do now is I just get another baby wipe that's clean, and look how easy it just comes right off of your block, right off of your palette knife, and you're good to go. Okay, so we want this to dry, and magic of, I did it earlier for us and let one dry, is I have one dry. Okay, so now let's bring all this away. Now we're going to do some stamping. So we've got our dry one here. You can also take and do the edges. You can see I did the edges a little bit on this one. So you can do that as well with that darkest color. So let's start with some stamping. Now that we have kind of our wood grained, distressed, baby wiped tag, we're going to go in with, this is some crumb cake ink. And in that Gears and Textures set, we have all of these great textures. So we're going to use the speckles. You know I love my speckles. We're going to use the circle of speckles. We're going to use this kind of cross-hatched one, and I think that's it. Okay, so we'll start with our crumb cake, our lightest color, and we've got those speckles. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to ink this up. And you can see on here, we've got those speckles kind of everywhere, right? So we're just gonna go in, we'll just start at the bottom, and we're just gonna texture this up. Maybe one right there. We'll see if we need to add any more of those. Okay, so then I'm gonna bring in my pecan pie, and we're gonna go in with that circle speckle. That's what I call it. Swirl, speckle, I don't know what you call this. And we're gonna add maybe like 3 of these. And you can also stamp this one off. So you can stamp it off and get like a lighter version over there. So you see you kind of got this overlapping, really pretty texture that we're building, right? Okay, then I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna close that one up. I think this one will be good too, so we'll close that one up. And we're gonna come in with Secret C, our beautiful Secret C, right? And for this one, we've got this kind of crosshatch texture. And so we'll just go in with this one and just add that kind of all across here. Maybe one at the bottom. Okay, so we've got all those textures just built up on there. Isn't that fun? I am a texture girl, that's for sure. Okay, so now we have all that. Now let's stamp our sentiment. So I've just got a piece of basic white here, and I've got that celebrating, that big celebrating, and we're gonna use that Secret C ink once again. And then I'm gonna show you this really fun technique for this tag. So we're gonna hand cut this out. So you're just gonna wanna stamp that down. Isn't that just a beautiful sentiment? I love that font. I love Secret C. Do you love Secret C? We're gonna have to all stock up extra, right? Okay, so then one last technique on this tag. I'm gonna put this to the side here. We're just gonna hand cut this out. I have done that for us, so you don't have to watch me do that. So I have our celebrating right there. Okay, so then I'm going to come back in, move this all to the side here. I'm gonna come back in with my block again, and once more with my craft white ink. So we're just going to put some of that right in the middle there. And then I'm gonna take my water painter. So I have a designated water painter that I have labeled craft white ink. And so I've done that on purpose so that I always just use this one with my white. There's some water in our barrel here, so I'm just gonna squeeze this. So I'm just kind of mixing with the brush end to get my craft white ink just a bit runny, because we're gonna splatter this. You know, I love to splatter. Okay, so I'm just gonna take my palette knife here and hold it. I'm getting lots of water and lots of ink on the brush here. And then I'm just going to tap this against my palette knife here and over my tag. Look at that. It looks absolutely, because it's the white craft ink, it absolutely looks like paint splatter when you do this. If you want this a color, you can do just like we did before, where we mixed our craft white ink with a little bit of re-inker, mix it together, and then come in with a water painter, add some water, and you can do that beautiful speckling. Doesn't it look like paint speckling? I think that is just so very fun. Okay, and then the same thing, you can just come in with a baby wipe, and this just comes clean really, really easily. So just take your baby wipe, doesn't ruin your blocks or anything, as long as you clean it right away. If you let it stay on there, well, then I'm not sure. But as long as you clean it off right away, then your block is good to go. Okay, so we're gonna let this part dry. Takes a minute because it is that craft white ink. So I'm just gonna scoochy that up, and we're gonna put our card together here. So I am using a little bit of designer paper today, and that comes from the Peaceful Garden. This is Christmas paper, right? But it has so many great prints that I don't think are winter or Christmas. I just think they're beautiful, and a lot of the back sides have some texture. So we're actually going to be using a piece from the back side. So it's actually these cute doves, but the back side is this beautiful kind of crumb cake and white color. So we're going to be using that, and we're going to grab our card base here. So our card base is Secret C. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this in half, grab my bone folder, and just give it a good burnish there. And I've got a basic white layer that we will add first. So we're just gonna go ahead and adhere this first layer down. Our next layer will be the Designer Series paper, but before we add that, we want this card to look distressed, right? And so I'm just gonna go ahead and tear the edge. So I'm just grabbing, I don't know, just a little bit off of the bottom there, and I'm just tearing it kind of left to right. You can see my thumbs are kind of guiding this. I want this white core exposed here, which is why I'm kind of doing this, and I'm tearing towards me, which gives us that exposed white border there. Then I'm gonna take my bone folder and I'm just gonna kind of go along the edges here, and I'm just sort of folding them up. I'm not really roughing them up. I'm just kind of folding it up so that it comes along this bottom a little bit lifted up. Once we have that, we'll just go ahead and adhere this part to our front, and we're almost good to go on that. We'll fix our tag to the top here in a moment and add our sentiment. But let's stamp our inside while we're waiting for that to dry. So we've got our basic white inside layer here. I'm gonna come in with that same speckly stamp, and this time I'm gonna use Secret C. So because we used crumb cake before, you don't have to clean it in between, but you absolutely could. And I'm just going to stamp off the edges a bit. So we got a speckle here in the corner. I'm gonna turn my layer around and do kind of the same thing on opposite corner. And then we have this beautiful insert, right? So we'll just add that right to the inside of our card here with a little bit of our awesome liquid glue, or green glue, they like to call it, right? And that is our inside. Okay, so for our tag part, let me bring all that back in here. We want to put this together, but it doesn't quite look like a tag yet, right? It just looks like a rectangle. So I'm gonna grab my trimmer here, and we're just going to take our tag here, and how I like to do it is I just like to line up the corner here with the second line on my trimmer here. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and trim that edge off. Now, if you have a punch, a corner punch, you could absolutely use that too. And then we're gonna do the same thing over here to that second line. I just lined that corner up here, this corner up to this second line on here, and now I have this beautiful tag. Now they may not be totally exact, but that doesn't bother me on this. I just think this tags are so fun to put on the front of a card. They don't have to go on a package, right? So let's then go ahead and add our sentiment here. We're gonna use our mini Stampin' Dimensionals, because there are some, once I hand cut this out, we've got some little bits, right? And so the mini dimensionals just fit real good in there. You could cut down your regular dimensionals as well, but the minis work great for smaller things, right? That's why we have them. Okay, so then we're gonna take this one and we're just gonna add an angle, put this right on the center of our tag, kind of going up there. Now, before we add our dimensionals to the back here, I'm going to bring in a punch. This is our tag topper punch. It comes in a 3-pack. And so you get a little regular circle tag punch. You get this one that has that kind of fun design on it. And then you also get just a straight one. And so I use all those. I think they're great. I love this set. Okay, and then I've got some basic beige ribbon here. Basic beige ribbon. And so it kind of goes with this neutral kind of palette here, right? So I'm just going to grab some snips and snip a piece off there. And then I'm just gonna fold it in half, and we're gonna take that folded end and we're gonna run that through where we punched. And then we're gonna open up that end and push those tails right through. And we're just gonna pull that tight. There we go. And we're just gonna flip this over. And now we'll add some regular dimensionals here to the corners in the middle. And maybe one more here. There we go. And so we're going to take this, and now we will add this right to the, kind of at an angle on our card here on the front. I'm going to just pull my ribbon here just a little bit tighter. Now it does stick off the edge. That's okay. You could come in and trim those up if you wanted. Just a little bit. But they will just hang right over and fold into your envelope just fine. So we've got all of that. Now we're gonna add a linen thread bow. So you know I love to have these ready to go on my glue dots. So I just tied a double bow with my linen thread, and I'm just gonna put that with my glue dot, see how easy that was, right on underneath my ribbon. And we're gonna finish up, of course, with some bling. We need some bling. So I'll be using the Moody Palette Glossy Dots, and there's Secret Sea in there. So that's the ones that I am using. This has Cloud Cover, Old Olive, Secret Sea, and White. Beautiful. So I'm going to use the Secret Sea here. And so I'm just using my Take Your Pick tool here. These are super sticky. These glossy dots, they stick to the adhesive sheet real well. So we'll just grab two more here, and two big and one little is what I'm using. And doesn't that just look so good? I think so. Okay, so I hope you love this card. How fun, right? Let's pull in the inside there just to show you. And you can make this in so many varying colors. So I even did a lighter version. I love it with the Secret Sea, but I did a lighter version that I wanted to also show you, where I used early espresso here for the background. I popped it up on a white card base, and instead of doing it on crumb cake, I did the design on white. So two options, but you can do that in so many fun colors, so many different options. So many fun things that you can do with this set, right? So let's flip this back around so I can thank you for watching me live today, or watching the replay, or, you know, liking, subscribing, sharing me with your friends, all the things. I absolutely appreciate each and every one of you for watching, those that order, those that take my classes. It's absolutely just makes me so very grateful for sure. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.